So you can't really talk about forms of altered consciousness without talking about drugs, specifically psychoactive drugs. Now, psychoactive drugs are basically any chemicals that affect mental processes and behavior by affecting the brain, some to a greater extent than others, and they come in different forms or categories, I guess you could call them, which I will talk about later. Some other vocab that you're going to want to know when it comes to drugs are tolerance. That's when a drug's effectiveness decreases after repeated use. Physical dependence, which goes hand in hand with tolerance. That's when the body adjusts to and eventually needs a drug for simple functioning. Addiction happens when you try to quit the drug, but you just can't because your body is physically or maybe even psychologically dependent on it, which is where your body just doesn't necessarily need it for functioning, but you need it because you desire the effects that it has. And then withdrawal, of course, those are the symptoms that go along with drug use, such as nausea or trembling when you don't take a drug that you are addicted to. Okay, so I've kind of diagrammed out the major categories of common drugs that affect consciousness. First of all are opiates. These include drugs such as morphine, heroin, and codeine, which are all highly addictive. And basically these are all used for things such as painkillers, things of that nature, like cough suppressants. And that's because they suppress physical sensation, so you can't feel what your body is actually experiencing in many cases. So yeah, all are obviously highly addictive. Hallucinogens include LSD, PCP, and cannabis to some extent. They alter your perceptions of reality, create hallucinations, judging by the name, and they do have a low potential for addiction, however. Depressants include alcohol, barbiturates, and benzodiazepines, also known as, what do they call them? I'm not sure. But those are also used to treat anxiety. So they're kind of like tranquilizers even. They slow mental and physical activity. They inhibit the nervous system. And there's a moderate potential for addiction in that case. And some people might think that's confusing, why alcohol is a depressant. And it's just ultimately because it kind of depresses or slows your central nervous system. Stimulants include cocaine, caffeine, and nicotine. These speed up the central nervous system, so it's kind of the opposite of depressants, really. They can all have the potential to be highly addictive, and it's also really, they're all common drugs. Caffeine, obviously, in coffee, soda, energy drinks, things like that. Whereas nicotine, that's clearly available in cigarettes, which is highly used by Americans and many other people in the world. So it's a relatively common form of a drug.